The FNL Network Talk Show.
Hi guys, and welcome to the FNL Network Talk Show. I'm Kat Jolleys. Now I'm joined by three absolutely beautiful women today. We have Eugenia, who everybody knows. We have Diana, who we met last week. And we have a virgin to the talk show today, Kay. Nice to welcome you to the talk show, Kay. So anyway, it's been a hectic week. There's been so much happening in the news. I'm British, and we had 40 degrees Celsius for the first time. You know, there's like fires and everything happening in Europe because of the heat wave. Meanwhile, we've got the wars happening in the Ukraine, gun crime. My God, we've had the abortion thing going on. And it's like, it's time for some escapism. It's time to be like Alice in Wonderland, go down the rabbit hole. And so on the note of escapism, I want to ask you guys, if you could have your very own perfect day, what would it be like? And Kay, I'm going to pick on you.
Yeah, I would say, I think I have some pretty perfect days for myself personally. I was able to go to Comic-Con this week and be on a panel there, so that was pretty fun. I don't need a lot of things to make my day perfect. I just need great weather, which for me means sunshine. I need something good to eat, which I'm pretty easy to please. That can run the gamut as long as it's delicious. Usually crunchy, sometimes fried, a lot of times sweet. So I need good weather, something good to eat. And then sometimes I don't even need something particularly entertaining. I can have a great day just kind of vegging out if I have a good show. I can, if I have a good show to watch, I can have a great day if I'm outside in a location I like the beach, or if I'm at a great museum, or even if I'm spending time with my kids and they're not being grumpy, but on good behavior, then we're having fun too. So I'm kind of easy to please that way.
You seem very easygoing, just content with your lot in life, which is great.
I think any mom is like, give to you a gift. You know, any mom is happy with anything. after you have kids, I think it's like
Diana, tell us about your day. How would your perfect day be like?
I'm kind of the opposite of the spectrum. Where like Kay was like, I'm so easy to please. I'm like, no, we're going all out. So you mentioned earlier Alice in Wonderland, Kat, and we're going to Disneyland, okay?
Oh, I love it.
Yes. I'm a pass holder there, so like I'm there all the time anyway. I have some of my best days there. We're gonna make sure the weather's not too hot so we can look cute in our pictures with the characters. We don't want any frizzy hair or like foundation running down our faces. It's not gonna happen. Gonna make sure that we upgrade to their Genie Plus. That way we can get on all the lines, like skip them, get on the rides really quickly. I know I'm doing Haunted Mansion a bunch of times because I'm a little weird. So like creepy stuff just makes me so happy. We're eating Dole Whips, you know, we're gonna go to Blue Bayou and treat ourselves. We're just gonna have a high maintenance Disney day.
I love that. I really like that. Eugenia, we lost you for a minute. So do you want to tell us about your day?
Oh, of course. Yeah, well, add to Diana and Kay, you know, being a mom, I can totally, Kay, understand, like you were just grateful. I'm personally grateful for like anything, you know. After taking care of the kids as a mom, I was like, okay, grateful to wake up today. That's it. With everything that's happening in the world, you know, I'm just really grateful for health, because I heard something like, you can be, you know, complaining about all the things, but if you don't have your health, it's like, that's the only thing that you're going to think about, you know, so it becomes your life. So I think if you're healthy, that's the thing to start. Just wake up. And also just my family being healthy as well and good, as much as my kids are total brats. I haven't seen them for a week. We are in Florida right now at like IMG Academy, where we study sports 24/7, and they don't want to see me. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm grateful for that. My daughter is celebrating her birthday in Disneyland, so can totally relate to that. I can't wait to see it. Not personally my favorite place. I like to spend time in wild nature. So Naked and Afraid is one of my favorite shows to watch. But I'm grateful to learn new things. You know, I think life is all about expansion and learning things that you like, getting out of your comfort zone. And it's a journey. It's definitely not a destination. Like, I learn it every day, no matter what you do. You know, I think every day is just beautiful as much as you can make it for yourself. And, you know, if I don't have food, I'm grateful, because as a model, you know, I don't need to have food for next 5 days. Of course, as long as you stay healthy, you know, and not be like crazy about that. But I think I'm grateful for failures as well, because I think it's important. Like, without failures, you wouldn't know what success feels like or what happiness feels like without disappointment. So I'm grateful for all these things as well. I'm grateful for my husband, for all my ex-boyfriends, and all my relationships with everybody, and grateful for, you know, for being taught in this life and for being on the show. So thanks, guys.
Okay, well, I went down a total fantasy route about my perfect day. So I'm going to wake up, and I'm going to wake up as Ryan Seacrest, but probably without the balls, you know what I mean? So I love radio. I trained in broadcasting. I'm going to be doing his morning radio show. So I'm going to be there listening to good music. I'm going to be chatting away. I'm going to start my day on a high. And after that, Ryan obviously is a busy man. He goes to production company meetings and this, that, and everything else. Well, I am borrowing Kylie Jenner's private jet. And I'm going to hop from Hollywood to Beverly Hills in about a 5-minute flight, or not even that. And I'm going to see Dr. Diamond, because I've wanted the Insta facial, Dr. Diamond's Insta facial, for so long now. So I'm going to have an Insta facial. Meanwhile, he can tweak all this and make me look $1 million. So that's next on my list. After that, I think I've kind of been very self-indulgent. So I'm going to do something for the planet. I'm going to go and I'm going to call up Leonardo DiCaprio, and we're going to go to, I don't know, the rainforest to plant trees and do some conservation work. So we're going to do that. And then on our way back, we're going to pick up a load of homeless people and take them for a really beautiful dinner and like spoil them and find them a nice hotel for the night and just give them their own 24 hours of amazingness. And then, because it's my perfect day, I'm going to find time to go hiking too. So I'm going to go hiking in Griffith Park, which is my favorite place. And then I'm going to come home, shut the door, and probably sleep like a baby. Unless there's a red carpet to go to, in which case I'm going to go to the red carpet and I'm going to interview all the stars, because that would be my perfect day. Just fit in radio and red carpets and some conservation work and hell, be beautified.
And then you'll make a baby.
And then I'll what? Make a baby?
No, I said, and then you'll sleep like a baby.
Oh, I thought you said I'm going to make a baby. I was like, whoa, I'm not ready for that yet.
That's up to you.
But yeah, then I'm going to sleep like a baby, because was it Penelope Cruz? She said that is the best beauty secret, is to sleep like 14 hours a day. So yeah, I'm going to have like a 14-hour sleep, and then I'm going to wake up to reality and be like, oh. But yeah, that's my perfect day. It's total fantasy. Kind of, it's all my life goals: radio show, red carpet host, have the money to be beautified, do stuff for the environment.
I like that you put philanthropy in there. That didn't even like that's how bad of a person I am. I was like, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna be on the beach. Oh, helping people. Oh yeah. No, that's a great idea. I love that you included that. I love that.
Yeah, I probably want to like go and walk some dogs at a dog rescue and stuff like that. I'm very into like animals and helping animals, and which is kind of rolling me on to the next question: happiness. Now, I believe that you make your own happiness, and like what each person needs is very individual. So I'm going to ask you, what are your key ingredients to happiness in life? And we're going to start off with Diana.
So I'm finding lately that happiness is coming from doing things that I want to do and living for me rather than seeking out everyone's approval. Like in the past, I feel like I felt I would be afraid to maybe wear something because, like, what would my mom think? Or like explore certain interests because, like, what would my friends think? Maybe that's lame. And now I'm in like F it mode at 30. And I don't know, I'm just having so much fun. I'm exploring different things. Like, I'm suddenly into horror movies. I'm really into like Danny Elfman's film compositions, like Dita Von Teese burlesque, like all these crazy things that I never thought I would be interested in, or like maybe I was afraid to explore because what people might think. It's lighting me up. And like at the end of the day, all we have is ourselves, right? So the sooner you can realize that and just do things that light you up, like the quicker you find your recipe to happiness. And I certainly don't have it all figured out. I'm not saying that. There's still more to figure out, but it's put me on the right path. And I just find I wake up just so much more excited than I used to be.
Have you seen Dita Von Teese live?
No, oh my God, it's a goal. I hear her shows are like phenomenal.
I was on a film set. Well, I was on Don't Worry Darling, and she actually does a burlesque dance in that. And we just spent the whole day watching her. And I'm not going to tell you about the scene, but she is amazing, absolutely amazing, so stunning.
Yeah.
It blew my mind away. And her figure is just phenomenal, and her skin is just so pure and white. She looks amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Goals.
Hell yes. Eugenia, what do you think contributes to happiness?
You know, it's so interesting for me, just the whole thing about the pursuit of happiness, just the question. Like, what is it? If you ask any person in the world what they want to be, and they'll say they want to be happy above everything else. And it's interesting for me, like living in so many different cultures, how much West really puts like, you know, monetizing the whole idea. Okay, this is the goal, to be happy, you know, at all the time. And it's such a deep question, you know, because I think you can be happy all the time. You know, it's just a passing moment, and without being unhappy, you won't know what it is to be happy. That's just my philosophical thinking about it, and just my experience with it. You know, you always pursue it so hard, like, okay, I want to be happy all the time. And when I moved to America, I remember everybody's just smiling all the time, even though it's not like honest all the time. And what I come from Russia, where nobody smiles, so it's the opposite spectrum of that. You know, they're like, why are you so happy all the time? When my mom came, she's like, why is everybody so happy? And I'm like, well, I don't know, it's America, you know. But I feel like happiness is something that is like being present in the moment and loving every moment, no matter what it is, and feeling it to the fullest, you know, and being happy with and being unhappy, you know, and just being authentic. I think authenticity is what happiness is. And when you can be truthful to where you are in life and share it, I think happiness is something to be shared. So, and I think living in these crazy times where there's so much scarcity, just kindness and sharing that type of, you know, being happy in the moment with somebody else is what I really value. But I think there's no such thing as like achieving it at all time. And, you know, if you try to grab to it, and there's so many books and people who made so much money by courses like How to Be Happy, I think it's false. You know, you can't just swallow a pill. It's something that it's just a state of mind, and it's an emotion, and it passes. Like, my husband is in silent retreat right now, and you know, he's texting me, by the way, every day, which he's not supposed to do. But I just find it hilarious. You know, our human brain just wants to grab into something and stay with it. But I think silent retreat is amazing because it teaches you to be in the moment. And I think happiness is just being alive. That's it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You need the ups and the downs in life, because you need to have the lowest of the low to have the highest of the high. You have to have the extremes.
Well, it's amazing with mental health. You know, I think the problem is like people don't acknowledge that we're all freaking stressed out with everything that's happening. And if you always just pretend to be like, it's fine, that's when, you know, things happen, whatever. I think mental health is not in a place in America where it can be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very emotional person, and I've learned to just let go. If I want to cry, if I'm unhappy, I will cry on everybody. I'm like the biggest crybaby known to man. And I think it's important because it detoxes your body from the stress and everything like that. It's just your way of letting go. So I think it really is important to have the highs and the lows. Kay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you and Eugenia. I mean, I have a background in counseling, and I used to work with kids a lot. And so part of experiencing joy is to also be able to experience all the other spectrums kind of in the emotional rainbow, right? And so I think that's kind of key. I agree that I think you can have a baseline of happiness or of fulfillment, I would call it. I wouldn't call it happiness, I would say fulfillment, and then be able to feel all those other emotions. Because just because something happens to me and I might be sad, or I might be kind of upset about something else, doesn't mean that I don't have a baseline of satisfaction, like a baseline of happiness. And I think that really generates from just having an appreciation for what you have. I find in my life, just personally, the more I am appreciative of what I have, grateful for the situations I'm in and things that I get to experience, the happier I am, because I'm living, like Eugenia was saying, it allows you to live in the present, and also not to be comparing yourself with other people, not to be worrying about what someone else has and be trying to have what someone else has. Appreciating what you have is, really fosters a sense of, I think, happiness and kind of joy. Yeah, so I think it's really important to look at it like, just because you are experiencing another emotion doesn't mean you can't have a baseline of satisfaction or a baseline of joy going on, and just be experiencing other emotions along the spectrum.
I totally agree with that. And I look at my mum, for example. She's very disabled now, and her life is really hard, but she appreciates the little things in life. Like I try and make an effort to call her every day, and I'll probably be on my spin bike getting some exercise, but I will make time to call her because it's so important to her, and it brightens her day and it brightens my day. And I think, happiness for me, I am someone, I have had depression. I do have like anxiety and stuff like that. And it's something, happiness you work on all the time. It's like little things. Like I, for example, enjoy working out. I like living in the sunshine because the UK grey, cloud, rain, my mood just goes down. And I like talking to people. One of the reasons I love, and I mean love, doing this show is because of the conversations and the fact that we bounce off each other, and it's a really unique kind of family that we've, FNL have built. And I love doing it because I really enjoy people, and I look forward to doing this every single week because it is good conversation, beautiful people, and kind of puts a smile on my face just because of talking to everybody. And especially, I know in LA County, we're looking at the mask mandate again, and we might go into lockdown depending what happens with COVID. And I think happiness has to come from within. You create it, you put yourself in situations where you can blossom. And I think you do have to have the negatives in life too, and you have to experience loss and sadness. But if you just do one thing that makes you happy every day, whether it's light a candle or run a bubble bath, or I don't know, I like sitting under the shower, and I'll just sit in the bath with the shower running over my head because it makes me happy. I'm a water baby, you know what I mean? And I just think little things in life, like always have been with animals. I was a country girl. I grew up with horses, dogs, and just having a pure soul like an animal who's never going to judge you, isn't going to be horrible to you, that it elevates my life, And I just think conversations with people, I'm the sort of person, I walk down the street, and this is something I have noticed in LA. I'd be like, hi, and I'll be walking my dog and I say hello to everybody because I'm from a village and that's what we do. And nobody says hello back, and you're like, but I feel good because I've said hello to somebody, and for me it's just being friendly, it's just being nice, and I gravitate towards people. Like if I'm on a train, I'll start yapping away to the person next to me, or so. Yeah, I just think little moments in life create happiness. It's the people you meet and your family, and doing things for yourself, but also doing things for other people. So I think that's so important.
So true, Kat. It's amazing what you say about connection, and I'm so worried about like my kids because they're into all this like likes, and they kind of do it as like happiness, is like how many likes you got on TikTok and things like that. And anybody who's like into material things, which I find in the West, is like, okay, I got the yacht, who's got the biggest yacht, and you're around these people, but they're so unhappy and insecure. And it's definitely not, I think, any spirituality or anything that's not material is definitely happiness.
No, I totally agree. I look at a lot of the super rich people, and I just think, you're not necessarily doing what you enjoy. Yes, you have all this money, but who are you enjoying it with? And I'm thinking about a certain website where Seeking Arrangements, which I have a few friends that are on it. And I'm like, these guys, they spend the whole time working, and then they basically want to pay someone for their company. And I think that's so sad. I really think it's really awful because they've got all this money because they've worked so hard for it, but they haven't made the emotional connections with people. And I think, you can have all the money in the world, you can have the yachts, the cars, the massive house, but you can be so lonely and so unhappy from, the inside. So it's going to move me on to the next question. It's about valuing life and valuing what you have. And I want to know, what do you cherish the most in life? So let's start with Eugenia.
Well, as I said, health is everything. If you're not healthy, you can't help anybody else. You know what I mean? It's like your number one question. So I think health is everything that is number one priority. And after that, as much as my kids are such brats, I love them more than anything. Of course, as a mom, it just comes with the territory, and learning as it goes. So I value them. I'll do anything. Like once something happens to them, no matter what they do back to you, you're like, just become this animal which will protect them at any cost. Like I remember when my son was 1 and my husband lost the keys and he was locked inside, I was so mad at him. Somehow I figured out where he put that key. It was like next level intuition. I just knew where that key was. I had to open the door. It's incredible what being a parent does to you. I think it was a revelation for me. Like I never thought I would become a parent because my doctor said I could never have kids. So I was, it was a big surprise how much I valued that. I think being a model, Kat, you probably would understand, it's a little bit of a self-centered world in a sense, not like you're a narcissist, but you just like you're your own product that you have to sell, and you always have to like focus so much on your looks and like whatever, it's like your business. And then suddenly this little person appears and you can't do anything but focus on them 24/7. And it brought a lot of value to me. And I think, going to basics, there's so many things that happen in life. And like, I have a fortune to achieve everything that I wanted to achieve at some point. And you think like, is that my value? No, it's not my value. My value is definitely giving back to others and sharing anything you want. Like there's no, I don't understand, like LA, right? Like people are they don't want to share their connections. Sorry, there's a really fast racing car that somebody really values that is driving through Miami. I hope it's not disturbing for you guys on the show, but nothing's perfect. So I guess I'm gonna wait for this person to really showcase their value. But yeah, I think in LA, people don't share their connections. They like really, really kind of you know, are not generous with things, as you said, like those guys who like work and that's what they value. But I think values and giving back something, like even if like that happens to me, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but if somebody comes to me and they're like, oh, I really like what you're wearing, a lot of times I would just like take it off. I'm like, here you go, because you value that so much more than me. And like, you know, I don't want to get attached to anything but my kids and health.
Yeah, that's how
my
I
love.
felt when I lived in India for a while with modeling. I was there for almost a year, but I did it in 3 different stints. And I felt, you know, the people with nothing, the guys who were working so hard on the streets, you know, selling food on the streets and stuff, they were the sort of people that would give you the shirt off their back. And, you know, people that have really nothing in life. And like you, I do believe helping other people and stuff is so important. Okay, moving on to Kay.
So I think when it comes to things that I really value, my family is at the top of the list, like more than anything. I think even as a kid, like I was a teenager and I love to hang out with my family. Like people will be like, oh, let's go do this, let's go do that. And I love to go hang out with friends. But if I had a boring day and I was just chilling out with my family, I loved it because I just was blessed and like to have a cool family. Like my family is just dope. We're small, but we're really close and very tight knit. And even as a teenager, I knew that my family was something special. So I was excited to one day start my own family, even though that kind of seemed impossible to me. But so I have 2 kids now. I hope they think our family is awesome that we've made. I think our families, I'm always like, our family is dope. I mean, I think our family's awesome, but you know, who knows? You never know what kids think. But that's why they're at the top of my list. They're the people that I like to hang out with the most. They're the people that make me crack up. They're the people that, you know, I want to share every good piece of news I have with first. And so that's just really important to me. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people, even people that have like a toxic or a family that they're not so close to. I think most people create their own families, even if they don't have a tight blood family. They're able to create their own family and kind of establish that bond with friends, and that's important because sometimes you can have friends that's as tight as your family. So that's awesome too. I have a good group of friends as well. So I think that's just like the top of my list. Like things that I value over everything is like family, and then my really close friends for sure.
I do think family is really important. And I'm going to say I've not always had a close relationship with mine. I went through 3 years recently where I did not have a phone conversation with my parents. And I totally cut them off. I found out my grandma died via an email. But you, I love the face, Kay. I love the face. And I found out
that feels like a toxic family environment, right? That's not a healthy way to communicate.
No, I mean, I needed to cut off. So it was on my terms and conditions. When I went to Cape Town, I cut off. And I'm going to say now, I call my parents all the time. We're super close. I didn't have a close relationship with them growing up. My mum was a workaholic, and she spent, I'm going to say 6 months of the year working in Bulgaria. And my dad worked long hours. And my upbringing, I was dropped at the riding stables at 7 in the morning and picked up about 8 o'clock at night, because that was the babysitting, you know what I mean? And then I wanted to leave home at 16. I got packed off to boarding school. So I spent, you know, a couple of years in boarding school. And I mean, I'm very grateful for my family. And we are really close now. I've got a wonderful brother. My sibling, she's a different story. But I think family is so important. Obviously, I've not got kids, so I don't know from that. But for example, I would do anything for my dog, who's almost 15. So yeah, I mean, that's family's just amazing. It really is beautiful.
I love that. I love that you show that sometimes family just doesn't come naturally, right? I mean, it's like any other relationship that you want to grow, you have to nurture it, and sometimes you have to work on it, and sometimes you have to be really humble and accept people and their mistakes that they've made. And there's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen. That sounds like that's what the process you went through in your life, Kat. And so I think that's really awesome that you've done that, to be able to get your family in a place where you wanted it to be, where it could be more healthy for you.
Yeah, I mean,
so agree.
I'm really honest, and I told my mum I had a lot of resentment for her because when I left the States and I ended up in Cape Town, I got backed into a corner basically, and it was, my mum was beginning to become very disabled, and she's like, what are you going to do when your visa renewal's up? And I said, well, I'm going to apply for another one. And she turned around and said, it's not just your decision now, Kat. I'm more or less totally disabled and want you to come home to make memories. And I told her to F off. I really did. And then 24 hours later, I'm like, you know what? This woman's given me everything. She's given me opportunities. And I arranged to go home. And then I got home and wasn't overly happy in the UK, I'm going to say. And so I found an opportunity to go to Cape Town and pursue, it was fashion and entertainment kind of hosting. And so I moved out there. But after kind of being backed into a corner to leave the States, my resentment was sky high and I just needed to live, so that's why I kind of chopped them off for a while. And I don't regret it at all, because I just needed to do that for me, for my sanity, and to concentrate on myself and my future and my happiness. And so that's what I did. Diana.
Yeah, I was going to say my family as well. And it's kind of similar. So my mom and I never stopped talking, but I feel like our relationship has gotten better as I've gotten older. I'm 100% Italian, like originally from New York. So I'm like part of that East Coast, like Hubbard family situation where my mom's always in my business. Like even now I do some work for a piercing company, and every time I go to work, she's like, don't get anything else pierced. I'm like, it's really not up to you, but okay. But also like, I'm going to work. And just having that space between us has brought us closer. I miss her a lot. And when I'm home, I enjoy before I go to bed, I'll hang out and watch like TLC with her, or, in the morning I'll sit and drink my coffee with her. So I miss that when I'm here. Definitely, I think distance makes the heart grow fonder for sure. But not only family, like I think there can be some happiness. I know we were talking about material possessions before, and as long as you place happiness in that and value it in a healthy way, like you look at something like, I work for this, for instance, like I pack myself up and I moved to LA and I'm paying for my own apartment and paying my own bills. And as long as you look at it in a healthy sense, like I'm providing this life for myself and I'm really proud of that, and so I cherish it, I think that's fine. Whether when you start to look at it from a status, like I'm only happy because I have this, then that's where it gets toxic. So kind of just figuring out that fine line for yourself is so important.
No, I agree. And I think, a sense of achievement, it is something that is so important. And I think it's something we all cherish, like pursuing your dreams and stuff like that. There's so many different things that you can appreciate in life. I'm going to say the one thing that I really appreciate is movement. And especially because, my mum is now very disabled. She does struggle. She's had a shoulder, 2 knees, a hip replaced, you name it. And we knew it was going to happen because she was meant to be dead before she was 40, and she took a lot of steroids to watch us all grow up. And the trade-off was basically her body. So I really cherish movement. I like being able to, the fact that I can run, the fact that I can ride a bike, the fact that I can walk down the street. And I tend to walk everywhere rather than drive my car, because I value movement. I really do. And, I used to, when I left school, I briefly taught swimming, and, I did, and I was a lifeguard, and you did see people that had an amputation, or I remember teaching a girl to swim who had a flipper arm. And I just value health and movement and the fact that I can do stuff. And, I had a friend who had a nasty accident on a horse, and she's paralyzed from here down now. And she wears like a full bodysuit, and she's had kids, and she can walk with this, I'm going to say it's like a RoboCop suit. And she actually did the London Marathon. Can't remember how long it took her. It took her like a week. And she had, she's walking with 2 canes and then this suit that helps her walk. And she walked the whole 26 miles to raise, money for people who had been paralyzed, quadriplegia and stuff like that. And I think it's amazing. And I look at the armed forces and people that have been injured, and my biggest value is the fact that I can move, I can run, I can do all that sort of thing. And I just think that's how lucky we are, just how lucky. So that's the one thing that I value, I cherish, and I'm so thankful for.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that.
Okay, so, well, this week there's been a lot in the press about obviously global warming. Europe is like on fire. There's unheard of temperatures. I know I've got a friend who works in the fire service in the UK, and obviously when we had such a hot day, our country couldn't cope, and our houses are built to keep heat in, and the train tracks buckled and the power lines were sagging and coming down. And he had the busiest 24 hours ever. It was one call after another call after another call, because fires were just breaking out left, right, and centre. So I want to move on to talking about global warming. And there's been a lot in the press this week about Kylie Jenner and her using her private jet, which I was going to borrow for my dream day, to fly on 10-minute flights. And she's so irresponsible, and the press have been calling her for that. And I want to find out, does global warming bother you? Or what do you personally do to try and do your bit for the environment? And when you travel, do you do anything to offload your carbon output? So, gonna pick on you, Diana.
Well, okay, global warming does scare me. I just remember I grew up when, I was in school when all this started happening. So I remember, teachers were bringing it up. So it's always been something that's, lingering in my mind. I would say the best way I contribute to, doing my part is I work from home. So I'm not driving anywhere, most of the week. That also helps my wallet with the price of gas right now. But yeah, I try to do my best. Unfortunately, I feel like with a lot of things, it kind of goes to the back of my mind. And then someone brings it up and I'm like, oh dang, that global warming thing, need to suddenly shut off all my lights and go get a hybrid car and, do the most and recycle and all that. But I feel like as much as you can realistically do your part, every little bit helps. And thank God we all don't have access to private jets. First of all, when I heard about that with Kylie Jenner, I was like, I don't care how much money you made. I don't care what you can do with it. Just be a good person. And if you can drive the 40 minutes from Calabasas to Hollywood, the rest of us can, join the peasants on the freeway. You know what I mean? We don't need private jets. So too long didn't read. Global warming scares me. Could be better about it, but I try to do my part where I can.
No, I like that. But I was reading about many celebrities that are using their jets just to beat traffic, basically. And I know Kim Kardashian also does. I know Mark Wahlberg, he's guilty of it. I was just reading up on it. Oprah's guilty, obviously. The Meghan Markles and Prince Harry of the world. And yeah, like you, I think it's important that we kind of rein it back in a little bit and we remember that we're all human, and it's just flying one person for 10 minutes, the damage you're doing. I hope you're going to plant a lot of trees, a hell of a lot of trees. So
yeah, and don't take your jet to go plant the trees. Go walk and go plant the trees.
Eugenia, what are your thoughts?
Well, Kat, first of all, thank you so much for sharing your fantasy. I think it's so honest of you, and I hope they invent jets without, polluting the environment or something like that, and that would be incredible, because actually that makes me very angry as well. There's so much hypocrisy talking about Leo, jetting everywhere, and then okay, I support the environment. Okay, he gives a lot of money, and I'm not the one to judge. Okay, so I've been in the airports all the time in pandemic, and it's nightmare. You know, it is a nightmare. Like you spend 10 hours flying to Vegas without like no parking, as much as you try to support the environment, and you're like, okay, screw it, I'll take a private jet. Like, I'm not the one to judge, but I think collectively, hopefully we'll come up with something that it's not hypocritical, or at least you admit to like, okay, I'm taking a private jet, you know, and like, that's what I'm doing. It's bad for environment, but that's why I'm doing it. Like, at least be honest about it. Don't pretend, you know, not to be. Well, my dad was a nuclear scientist, so he was the first responder to Chernobyl, and just that disaster obviously caused so much for the environment and for such a long time. And you know what's interesting, like he always wanted to be somebody who supports environment, and in the 80s and 90s he told me about the climate change, and I grew up with that. You know, I knew that it's going to be a huge thing, and nobody listened to him at that time. And of course now we're the place where can we even do something, because the ball is rolling so fast. You know, we're almost like, what can you do about it? You just can be off grid and, you know, try to live by example almost. You know, I think it's very sad that a lot of people are sending all these satellites, you know, all the billionaires. Okay, you know, you have all the money, try to support this Earth. Try not to move to Mars already. I know you're moving to Mars and you're established, but what about others, like in kindness? But the satellites I read, you know, they really affect the environment, and the way the sun is, you know, all our ozone layers, like it definitely does a lot of effects. I think on global scale, we can definitely not be so selfish and just try to think of others. And on my personal scale, I work with a lot of organizations. It's a huge thing because I lost my dad when I was 15. So for me, he's with me in the spirit, and you know, I definitely have to push his work forward. And I try to teach my kids. I work with From the Hearts Tribe. It's a local organization. If you guys in LA, I hope that you can join us sometime. So we usually go once a month to any kind of local beach with the kids, and we collect plastic, and then we count how much things we collected. So it's like being hands-on. Don't just talk about it. Don't stand next to the tree. Actually do something, you know, something small, and teach your kids. You know, for example, on Earth Day, when it was pandemic, I was supposed to do something with Fran Drescher, who is an incredible anti-cancer person who survived cancer and knows how to cure cancer with dealing with your environment and detoxifying your home. But we were going to do something, and then they had a lockdown, and me and my kids, we went out and we collected trash just from our neighborhood because we couldn't go far. And of course, the one thing about pandemic was good because it was really good for the environment. I don't know if you guys felt it, but I really felt the air was like changed after we haven't drove for such a long time. So I think it's just being conscious and aware every second of it. Like, where do you put your litter? Do you recycle? You know, do you, even in fashion, right? So I was kind of upset that companies made all these kids like buy clothes and buy and buy and buy. And it's not about quality. It's not, you know, like H&M. Thank God they were called onto it. And now they're making more eco-friendly clothes. But the way you make the environment, the way you use plastics and anything like bottles and things like that, just get rid of it and be conscious and maybe teach somebody else. Or, you know, you can't really like control whatever anybody else is doing, but at least lead by example. I think small things are really important.
I think the fast fashion thing's really important. And, you know, because you can go to Primark, for example, and you pick up t-shirt for like £2-3. And you've got, you know, Miss Selfridge and Topshop and all that, and everything's kind of cheap, and people just buying things, wearing it on a night out and basically dumping it. And I'm going to say one thing that stood out to me this week was Jennifer Lopez. She re-wore, I think it was a dress from one of her movies to get married in Vegas to Ben Affleck. And she looked stunning, so beautiful. She's got all the money in the world, and she chose to recycle something. And that really stood out for me. You know, she just looked amazing, and she did something that was good by re-wearing something, you know. So the fast fashion thing definitely is something we need to look at. And like for me, for example, like this used to belong to a friend of mine, and she often gives me stuff that she no longer wants, and so I make use of it. Kay, what are your thoughts?
I think, gosh, I think every little bit does help, but I kind of watched this depressing. I wonder if you guys have seen it. It's a Vox. It's run by like Vox channel. They came out with this series of videos called Explained, and one of them talks about recycling. And it is so depressing, you guys. It basically talks about how you recycle, like most of the things that we put in to be recycled, like 80% of things that we go to recycle and we think are being recycled actually aren't being recycled. It's like a very small portion of plastics that are able to be recycled. It was so depressing because recycling was like the thing I was doing, and I felt so good about it. And then when I saw this special, I was like, oh no, it was kind of defeated. It was a little depressing. So I had to pick myself up and just like, okay, even though it's this tiny little bit, I still just have to do my little, small little bit. And I, recycle bags. Like when I go to the grocery store, me and my kids all thrift. Like we love to thrift, so we recycle clothes. That's like a passion of ours. But I think what we like, the number one thing that I think that we need to be doing is just holding corporations accountable, because that's where a majority of the pollution and a majority of the issues with the environment are happening with them. It's not happening with me and you and our little, 10% of the world's trash we do. It's them, giant corporations polluting the air and polluting our water and not holding on to standards that they've agreed to and breaking laws. And so I just think a lot of it is those issues. I was shocked though to hear Oprah was contributing to the celebrity jet craze, because like I'm obsessed with Oprah, you guys. I love her. So anyway, and now I'm a little depressed about that, but I'm sure she has her reasons, you guys. We just gonna need to tweet at her and say, Oprah, what are you doing? You're supposed to be better. I expect more. Just like I think one of you guys were like, Leonardo DiCaprio, what are you doing? We expect more, So we have our celebrities. I think it's kind of funny that we hold to a different standard than others. Like we go, oh, Kylie Jenner, we kind of expect her not to be doing the right thing. But, we have other categories of the celebrities where we're like, no, we expect you to be doing more and be doing better stuff. So I think just really holding certain corporations and entities responsible is probably a key too. I mean, we're doing our special little part, but we also need to hold other people responsible.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. It's like Tesla, for example. Okay, so it's an electric car. We're still polluting the environment to get the electricity. But what the problem is the batteries. They only last so long and you can't dispose of them like in a healthy way. So they are, I'm going to say, more or less as toxic as driving a little petrol car. And like I said, I try and walk everywhere, but that's because I like movement. There's little things like in LA, everyone drives an SUV, everyone has a massive car. And I have a little 10-year-old Fiat 500 pop little bubble car. And I'm single, there's no family. And it's the perfect little runaround for me. It's like good on the gas. It's kind of a proper city car. I do go on the freeway and think, F-U-C-K, there's a lorry up my ass, you know what I mean? But they're just little things, like if you don't need a family car, don't drive a gas guzzling 4-door truck, you know what I mean? And for me too, I mean, I've been vegan for 11 years, and just the way that we do things, for example, if everyone had one plant-based meal in a week, that would help the environment. And it's like, I'm like you, I recycle clothes that friends don't want anymore, or, because I can, and I don't really care most of the time what I look like. If I'm going to be around home, then just shove on a t-shirt. It can be too big for me or whatever, but I do try and do my bit with like fast fashion and stuff. And I can tell you, my wardrobe fits in half a suitcase, and that's no joke. That is no joke, because obviously I moved back here before the pandemic hit, and then obviously it kind of hit as I moved back. And so I only bought a very small amount of clothes because I was traveling with a dog. I also did have a horse who also traveled, so that's my carbon problem. But yeah, and I've never felt the need to go out and actually buy new clothes because, you know, I got gifted some stuff, and so I put that into circulation, and just, I think, being thoughtful. Like, I have noticed that the recycling thing, you know, like, I live in a big apartment blocks. There is maybe 250 apartments, and we have the trash bins, and there's one recycle bin, and people just put trash in there. And, you know, like, under my sink right now, I have massive carrier bags full of drinking bottles, which I'll go and take to the store and just give them in so they can recycle them. Because, yeah, I find the difference between recycling in the US, and I don't know if it's the whole of the US or just New York, I live there, and LA, I've lived here. But I find that people don't recycle, whereas in the UK, we actually have a bin for glass, a bin for recyclable plastic, we have a compost bin, and the trash guys will collect your different boxes on different weeks, and then you only have one small like trash bin for your actual rubbish, which can't be recycled. And I think, you know, we all have to do a bit more, and it'd be nice if everyone had a little garden and we could plant trees and we could have a wild bit for the butterflies and stuff like that. And it's like you said, it's do the little things that we can do. And then hopefully the big companies, they will start doing their bit. There's a lot to think about, and it's a massive problem that we're going to have to deal with. And it's not necessarily us, it's like your kids, they're going to have to really deal with it, you know. So like Eugenia was saying, she teaches her kids to pick trash up and recycle stuff. And I think it's just really important to educate people how to do it, because it wasn't something that we necessarily were taught, you know, it's something that we started doing because we had to start thinking about it. Whereas like the new generations, it's something they're going to be taught, and hopefully they're going to do a much better job than we are. So I just think little things you can do, it's so important. So yeah, if anybody's got anything else to add on the global warming, the fires, anything else?
I was just going to say, I think you're exactly right about Europe being ahead of the game, because when my sister used to live in Germany, and I would go and visit her, and her kids were recycling 15, 20 years ago. And I mean, that's when nobody was recycling in America. I was living in South Carolina at the time, and in Philadelphia. And I was like, what are you guys doing? You know, they would break down their cereal boxes, and it was just stuff that her kids just knew how to do. Rinse out anything plastic. And I was just like, what are you guys doing? Why do you have 4 trash cans? You know? And my sister was like, no, it's not trash cans. Like, that's recycling. Like, she literally had to explain it to me, because the places where I was living, nobody was doing it. And not until in the past maybe 8 to 9 years did they start recycling in the city of Philadelphia where I was. And then that was still pretty low level. They called it single stream recycling, which I now know is pretty ineffective recycling, but they had to start somewhere, I guess. But my sister in Germany, way ahead of the curve. And I don't know why. I find that interesting, Kat. I wonder if you have any explanations for that, as to why Europe is so far ahead of America on recycling.
Well, I mean, for as long as I can remember, we've had rules in place. And, you know, there suddenly became a time where the landfills were filling up fast. And, you know, the UK is a small island. We had dug big holes out to put our trash. And some bright spark, thank you very much, whoever the bright spark was, decided that we would recycle cardboard, we would recycle newspapers. Everything had to go separately. And then, you know, we have recycle dumpster trucks that come around, and they will pick up, one week it'll be like newspapers, glass, and recyclable plastics. The next week it might be, I don't know, metals like your aluminum cans and stuff like that. And it's only once every 2 weeks you have like one wheelie bin per house. So if you've got a 6-person family, this wheelie bin gets emptied every 2 weeks, and that's your trash. And, you know, I know from just the States, people are throwing out bin bags every single day, you know, and especially like the McDonald's and the takeouts and stuff, they need to kind of look into the packaging and how we can recycle stuff. Because I mean, there's only so much we can do. And I don't even know, is it landfill recycling? You know, is it landfill here where the trash goes? Or is it, I don't know. I mean, I just know at home we dig big holes and we dump it in, and they're basically slag heaps full of proper trash. And then the rest is all recycled. And it's a big thing in the UK. I mean, everybody composts, and there is very minimal waste. And I'm going to say, you know, my parents, for example, they bring up my sister's kids. There's a 4-person family, and their bin's not even half full of trash after 2 weeks, because everything's recycled. And, you know, I think it's just something they learn, and something that it's just natural now. You know, you wash out your glass jar and you put it in the glass. And there's still more we could be doing, but I just think Europe, maybe because we don't have the vast space of the USA, we kind of had to get on top of it. I mean, you think of the UK, it's a tiny, piddly little island, and there's a lot of people there. And I think you just have to be responsible when it's like that. So that would be my 2 cents worth. But yeah, I'm going to say that America probably does need to catch up a bit.
Definitely.
Well, Kat, to add to that, you were saying that you're a vegan, right? I work with like a lot of farm sanctuaries, and farming in the US is just a disaster. You know, I took my kids, there's a farm sanctuary where they teach you how they're just greedy, right? They raise these chickens, just absolutely abusing them, and they put them in cages where it's like it's so inhumane. I think starting from there, you know, how you farm is so important as well. And, you know, it's true, holding corporations accountable and, you know, not buying their products that are not, you know, that are not supporting whatever you stand for is very important.
And you want to talk about celebrities that do good. Back to the vegan thing. I am vegetarian, but when I went to Billie Eilish's concert, like, I absolutely love her. Her whole family is vegan. And before she came out, her mom got on the screen. She has a foundation, and she said, please do your part, eat one plant-based meal, like at least once a week. Like, we have Billy and Phineas's like favorite recipes or whatever. So just seeing celebs like that, like, you know, as opposed to the Kylie Jenners of the world who don't care, like, that's the example we need to get out there.
No, I definitely think that is the case, because what really upsets me, and I was vegan because I was been vegetarian since I was 6, and it was actually just a development of that. But what really upsets me, it's not meat eating, it's how, like Eugenia said, how we farm, that you've got animals getting injured. For example, the pork, the pigs can't turn around, and the methane gas and stuff that's just coming out of there, and we're giving them hormone and everything else. And it's just, we've got to a point where we are so greedy, and the meat's not good quality, and it's just not good for the environment how we're doing it. Whereas if you've got, you know, like a pig and a sheep and some chickens wandering around the fields, and you've got some cows which are out grazing and then they come in and be milked, it's just a healthier farming environment. We don't need to be eating big slabs of meat. Your body can only digest so much. And I just think we need to look at how things are done, really do. So
yeah, there's another spectrum of that. You know what? Being in LA, everybody's obsessed and like investing into this fake meat, right? Plant-based, and it's terrible for you guys. Have you checked the ingredients? I think it's important to check the ingredients. You know, there's one way or the other, but it just comes to greed. You know, there's such a huge obsession with this, like, whatever, fake burgers, and just check your ingredients. What do you put in your body? Like, it starts from there, and then you can give back, you know? So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in both ways.
Yeah, I mean, I bought some vegan cheese slices, and I didn't even think about it. And I read the back, and it's like coconut oil. There's nothing of any nutritional value in there. It's basically oil hardened with some flavor, and it's gross. It's so bad for your body, and it's like you say, a lot of the burgers are bad, and that's why people end up very sick from being a vegan, because they're buying the convenience foods rather than, for example, I used to make all my own burgers, so I would have the lentils in it and the beans, and I would put nuts in and loads of veggies and put it in the food processor, and then I'd make the patties myself and I'd freeze them. And my parents are meat eaters, you know, and they do more plant-based now. But, you know, my dad, who would never do plant-based, he actually preferred the burgers that I was making because they were more tasty. And just, yeah, like you said, we have to change. And I don't think being vegan's the answer. I just think, you know, if everybody does a plant-based meal, if people take their mug to the coffee shop, you know what I mean? Just little things like that. So go a long way. So on that note, I'm going to thank everybody for being here today. So Diana, Kay, Eugenia, thank you so much. And that's all from us at the FNL Network Talk Show. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you.